report today looking at corruption in South Africa. In the studio, we are joined by the Executive Director of Corruption Watch, David Lewis. David, welcome. Good to have you in the studio again.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you for inviting us.
Having a look at some of the findings here, and something that really jumped out for me is saying that Gauteng has become the corruption hotspot. Can you elaborate on this for us?
Yeah, well, of the 2,500 odd reports that we received this year, the largest source of them is Gauteng. And I think that's cause for concern. It may be because our profile is somewhat higher in Gauteng than elsewhere, although we're getting a lot of reports from other parts of the country as well. It may be because there are a lot of people in Gauteng. The population of Gauteng is very dense. And it may also be because a lot of public servants are reporting to us, which I find very interesting. And obviously Gauteng is a big centre of public sector employment. But it's pretty well spread across all provinces, and we're getting reports from across the country, from large towns and small towns.
Right. Well, it's not good news, and I think what we need to look at is it improving, is it getting worse? Because we were busy looking at this this other index that came out, the international index, where South Africa at one stage was sitting at about 69, and then last year we dropped to 72 out of 176 countries. So it's progressively getting worse.
Yeah, and that's a measure of perceptions, and it's the perceptions of the people of South Africa. In their perception, corruption is getting worse, and I think that's very important to note. You know, the bad news is we could fall a hell of a lot further than we are, and so there should be a great incentive to do something about it. And yes, corruption is getting worse, and corruption is pretty bad. But the good news is that people seem really willing to speak out about it. They're speaking to us. They're speaking in political meetings. They're speaking wherever they can. And really, that's what we want to achieve. We believe that in a democracy, which is the political system in which we live, this voice can't be ignored for too long.
What is the most prevalent reported case of corruption that you've found?
Single case of corruption?
No, not single, but just in general. What is the biggest cause of corruption?
The sector in which people most of our reports come from is education, is schooling. Partly because we saw right at the beginning, without any particular encouragement on our part, that a large volume of reports were coming from schools. And so we mounted a campaign that was directed particularly at schools, and we're getting a lot of reports of corruption in schools. You know, as for the practices of corruption, procurement of goods and services is always a major instance of corruption, whether at a relatively small level, as in the procurement by schools of facilities for schools, or at the very largest level. But that's the practice that's reported most prevalently. Nepotism in employment is a big issue that is reported on a lot. But schools, health, local government, many of the reports that we have are directed at local government, which is where health, education, or provincial government, where health, education, transport is provided, and people are discerning high levels of corruption in all of those sectors. Okay,
and I see that the top 4 sectors, you mentioned schools, which is by far the most. I mean, it's 38%. The next is traffic and licensing at 10%, healthcare 3%, and water 2%.
Yeah.
So those are the 4 sectors that you've identified.
Yeah, those are the sectors, and then we also identify whether the reports are directed largely at national, provincial, or local government. And not surprisingly, the vast majority of reports are directed at provincial and local government, but the really big value instances of corruption probably occur at national government level.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to schooling, because it just is one of the most frightening things to look at. Because I'm having a look at a summarised version of your report, and it's saying that the hotspots in schools, 44% is financial mismanagement. Then it's the theft of goods and funds, and corruption in procurement processes. And these are the places that we send our children to every single day and pay with our hard-earned money. and yet this is the highest place where corruption's taking place.
Yes. It's also, for all those reasons that you outline, the place where people are most willing to stand up to corruption. So, so they may not be willing to stand up to the arms deal type situation, but they are willing, when their children's education is at stake, to stand up to it. And so we have very active engagement going with parents, teachers, school governing bodies, even learners who are complaining about corruption.
Okay, so to let you go, because we don't have time to go through the whole report, if you have to sum up this 2013 corruption report, what would it be?
It would be that people are speaking out. It would be that a lot of public servants are speaking out, that they're looking at what people often in ranks very senior to them are doing, and they're appalled and they're embarrassed and they're ashamed and they're speaking out. And so we take a lot of encouragement from our 2 years of existence. The report today is being launched on a new interactive platform that people will be able to go to through our website and really talk about corruption with us and with each other. And that's what we want them to do. We want them to talk and talk louder, and we think that that will be very difficult to ignore.
Excellent. That website again is corruptionwatch.org.za.
That's right. Yeah.
Excellent. So go out there, you can read the full report. What time will it be released? This afternoon?
I think it's being released now.
It's already out there. All right. If you'd like to read the full report, please go and visit the website www.corruptionwatch.org.za. David Lewis, thank you very, very much for joining us here, the Executive Director at Corruption Watch. Time now.